And we're back with another weekly health, fitness, and fat loss Q&A. Welcome to this live, whether you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you are. Welcome. Today Q&A, we're going to do two parts really. We're going to do some of the fitness myths. I put a poll up on LinkedIn earlier on today. There's quite a few ideas around the myths in fitness and nutrition. We're going to cover some of those, some of the questions that people ask, some of the comments, the thoughts that people had, but also some of the ones that I get asked all the time. That's the first part. The second part, we're actually going to look at the psychological aspect of losing body fat, self-limiting beliefs, self-esteem, self-image, and a self-fulfilling prophecy. All right, so two parts, but before we get into this, how about this? See, I like to be taken for dinner and drinks first before you slip your hands into my knicker. Call me old-fashioned. I'm kind of a big deal. Sake. Boom. Oh, hello. Call me drinking a can of Diet Coke. Actually leads me nice into one of the myths I'm going to talk about. All right, welcome. If you're on, let me know where you're from. Drop your name into the chat. Tell me your name, tell me your question. Let me know where you're calling in from or watching, and we'll get into it. Well, look, I'll start with this one. No one mentioned it in the chat, but it's a very popular myth in fitness and nutrition, and that's whether Diet Coke makes you fat. Well, here's the thing. There's no fucking calories in it. How can it make you fat? So the idea is that the artificial sweeteners would spike your insulin, and then that insulin would cause you to gain body fat. No, it's not the case. To start with, there's been numerous studies, and they've been done on rats, so they haven't been done on humans. The studies on rats, first of all, let's look at the artificial sweetener, whether it's toxic. Whether it's toxic for us or not. One, it's not, because it's done in studies with rats, and the rats have been given 100 times the amount that we would drink as humans. So one, it's not, it's not even viable. It's got no crossovers into humans. So it's not as toxic. It's such a small amount that we're getting from a can of Diet Coke that it's not even worth talking about. And that's not just because I'm a fan of Diet Coke. That's just what the data is showing us. Okay, and the second part, whether the artificial sweetener will spike your insulin and then cause you to gain body fat. Now, one, it doesn't, and two, there's no calories, and you can only gain body fat when you're in a calorie surplus. There's actually quite a few studies that show that a Diet Coke could be an appetite suppressant. So in some ways, it could actually help you lose weight if it's not making you think about food. So don't believe the hype. I know nearly everyone, or I know lots of people within fitness and nutrition that will drink a Diet Coke every now and then, 2 or 3 times a week. We know the truth. It does not make you gain body fat. There's no calories. How can? It's like trying to build a house. I want you to go build a house over there. Have you got any bricks? No. Just build it. Just build it. No bricks, no material, no nothing to build the house, and the house gets built. Of course it doesn't. Stop being fucking stupid. Okay? Of course it doesn't. So that's one of the biggest myths. All right, but I'm going to switch gears. We'll come back to the myths as more people come on and ask a few questions, hopefully. But today I really wanted to focus on the most neglected part. Well, no, rephrase that. Not the most neglected part, but the part people don't really recognize or believe is important. Of course, look, to lose body fat, to lose any type of weight, you've got to be in a calorie deficit. So you've got to have a nutrition plan that enables you to do that. You've got to move your body. For most people, you don't have to, but it certainly helps. So most people tend to focus all their efforts on their diet. In fact, they focus nearly all their efforts on their exercise, a little bit on their diet, and they hope that they can lose body fat. Now, this will work for some people if or limited self-limiting beliefs and a good positive self-image and their self-esteem is good and the habits around that psychological aspect. If they're not, this is where it gets very, very tricky. This is where it gets very, very tricky, because without these things in place, without the psychological aspect of fat loss in place, someone could lose 20 or 30 pounds, but could very quickly put that weight back on. And one, it's partly to do with their habits, but the actual physical habits, the only way you put weight on is actually by eating more food and maybe not exercising. But why do they do that? Like, we all know that we need to eat less food and exercise more in generally to lose body fat. So why does someone that lose 30 pounds when they get there, when they get to where they wanted to go, they've achieved success, whatever that meant to them, why did they then go back to where they started from? I'll tell you why. It's because it's a mixture of maybe self-image, self-esteem, the people they hang around with, their own belief, whether they believe they deserve to lose weight, whether they believe they can stay there, whether they resonate with being a slim person. I say slim in inverted commas, because what does that mean? Slim. That's not necessarily the goal for anyone. But let's say someone is, let's say someone's 260 pounds. Okay, and they want to lose 60 or 70 pounds to get them back to where they used to be 20 years ago. So 60, 70 pounds, which is what, 3-4 stone in English money. It's quite a lot of weight. It's going to take, it's a good, 6 months to a year for most. Pounds. Why do a lot of those people end up putting the 30 pounds back on when they know what to do to lose the 30 pounds in the first place? Well, it's a bit like a thermostat. And this is the same in weight loss, in money, in relationships, in family, in business, in any aspect of our life. Okay. We've all got a self-image of who we are and how we react to certain situations, and who we believe we are when it comes to our health, who we believe we are when it comes to the money that we earn and the finances, who we believe we are in the type of man or woman that we can attract as a partner. Okay, we've all got to set a standard that we adhere to. Okay, so let's say someone's very overweight and maybe they've been there 5, 10, 15 years. That's become their standard. It doesn't necessarily mean they like it, they enjoy it, they might hate it, and most people do, but that's become their norm, that's their standard, and they've tolerated it. You only get what you tolerate. So when people tolerate something for such a long period of time, it's very hard to, even when they achieve something they want to, it's very hard to not go back to where they tolerate, because it's comfortable. It's like the thermostat. So look, what happens when it gets cold in a room? The thermostat kicks on and puts the radiators on, heats the room up. When it gets too hot, thermostat kicks in again, aircon goes on, cools the room down. So you've got this thermostat, and it's exactly the same. We've got our own internal thermostat. So let's look at someone when they're trying to lose body fat. They've always been overweight. They're known as the fat person in their crew, whether it's a guy or a girl. The people I'm talking about. The person is jovial, and they've always, been known as the person that's overweight that tends to overeat. Oh, look at him, look at her. And they're the butt of people's jokes. If anyone's going to eat the food, it'll be Sally or Jim or someone, who I'm talking about. And they very often, they're not happy with who they are and where they are with their health and weight. They're trying to work. They've tried many things before. So their self-image is maybe, not the best. They don't like looking at themselves in the mirror. They don't really like wearing the clothes that they have to wear. They have to pick. Their self-esteem is very, very low. Generally don't feel too great about themselves. They lose a load of weight. They come on a 12-week coaching program like mine. They lose a load of weight, or anyone's program, not necessarily mine. Lose a load of weight in that 12-week period or 6-month period. And they learn this. But the people they're hanging around with still think they're that person at 260 pounds. And deep down, they still resonate with the person that's overweight. So what happens is, although they were very uncomfortable there, that's almost become comfortably uncomfortable. Does that make sense? You can be really uncomfortable, but you're actually quite happy subconsciously staying in an uncomfortable position. So when someone loses a load of weight, it's actually becomes uncomfortable because I'm actually achieving success here. Oh, I'm not used to this. I'm used to being the person that's not noticed, mate. I'm getting more attention from men and women, and this is not everyone. Some people just run with it and they really thrive with it. I'm getting more attention from men and women. Maybe I'm getting some unnecessary attention. Maybe that person is using the fact they've got a lot of weight to lose as a bit of a crutch in terms of visibility. So they lose weight and they become more visible to people, to their boss, to friends, and they don't like that attention. So they go back, they start eating more, exercising less, and go back to where they were before. That's just one example of self belief and self image. Okay, what self esteem is kind of wrapped into that as well. There's so many different examples of this. What about the self fulfilling prophecy and whether people believe they can achieve that? And the self fulfilling prophecy is really where someone creates the reality of a situation that isn't even true. So we've all got stories that we tell ourselves. This are our beliefs, and these stories have come from childhood, pretty much from birth to the first 7 years of our life. How we've been brought up by parents, schooling, friends, family, our whole environment. Okay, and look, horrible things go on for a lot of people, which can affect them. A lot of trauma can happen, so that could be why one of the reasons. But the stuff that's gone on there is set our story, set our programming. And this subconscious programming will come from childhood, early childhood, in through our teens, into our adulthood and beyond, and stay with us our whole life. But we can change that programming. But a lot of the programming of someone that can't lose weight or is trying to lose weight is, I've tried everything before. I can't do this. I hate diets. My parents are overweight. It runs in the family. It's my genetics. I've got big bones. All these self-limiting beliefs that many people have. And I tell you right now, they're all bullshit. They're not true. And we've all got them. And you might have them with regards your weight. You might have them with regards your finances or the man or the woman that you can attract, your relationships. We've all got the certain beliefs that I can't do that. Okay. Now, when you tell yourself that you can't, how often do you actually surprise yourself and think, "Oh, I can do that"? Very rarely. It could happen. But when you tell yourself something that you can't do that, guess what happens? Your body, your subconscious, your mind, physically, emotionally, will go out its way to give yourself proof that you can't do that. So let's say someone goes on a diet and they're quite overweight and they've struggled with their weight all their life. They've always been that person, the fat person. Okay. They go on another diet, but already in the back of their head, they're saying to themselves, well, I know it's not going to work because, I've tried 10 other diets before and they've never worked. And, it's my genetics. I'm big boned. I've tried. So I've got all this voice, this story that we're telling ourselves going over and over again. Okay. The self-fulfilling prophecy comes from these self-limiting beliefs. So self-limiting beliefs, they try something, let's say they try that diet again, and it doesn't work, meaning they haven't got the right plan. They haven't got the right structure in place. They're not moving their body enough. They're not in a calorie deficit. So it fails. See, I told you. Never works. I fail at this. I'm just no good at this. I'm so shit at this. I can't do this. I failed again. And the belief that they were already going to fail has now given them proof. They almost proved themselves from a situation that wasn't even real. They'd gone into a situation, they laid themselves up to fail. They've already predicted their failure. So why even try? And that's what the self-limiting beliefs, self-esteem, self-image lead into that self-fulfilling prophecy. And that goes round and round and round, and it can take the person down and down and down and down. So we don't believe what we see what we believe. I'll say that again. We don't believe what we see what we believe. Okay, what you believe, you'll see. So if you believe you can never lose weight, you will go out of your way to make that reality. That leads me on to the self-sabotage, which I missed out actually. It's a massive part of that. Self-limiting beliefs, self-sabotage, self-fulfilling prophecy goes round and round and round. If you think I've always been fat, I've tried everything, I can never lose weight. Very often people are doing quite well. They've lost 20, 30 pounds, they're on a roll. It seems like they're really starting to change. They've got some habits in place. They're sleeping well, they're controlling their carbs, they're eating all the right things, they're going to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. Everything's working. And then that little self-belief comes on. You don't deserve this. You can't do this. You're not that person. And then all it takes is someone to say, have you lost weight? Maybe you need a good meal or something, or some little negative comment. And then the doubt's kicking, oh, maybe not. Maybe not. That's that self-sabotage. So you're even going to the place where you want to go. You're being successful. You're making money. You're losing weight. You're in a great relationship, and you do something just to fuck it up. And then you're like, why did I do that? Why? Why did everything was going so well? Why did I mess it up? Because you never believed that you could achieve the success in the first place. So you already self-sabotage. You self-sabotage yourself. You give yourself even more proof. See, I can't do it. I told you. What was the point of me even trying? We see it in relationships. I'm never going to get the guy. I'm never going to get that girl. All the best-looking guys are gone, or all the good-looking girls are already married. If you tell yourself that, when you're walking down the high street, if you believe that everyone that you would be attracted to, or they'd be attracted to you, is already taken, you're not even going to be open to the possibilities that could happen. The same with career, with making money, relationships, losing body fat. It's just one aspect of that. All right, I'm going to hold on that for a second and go to some of the questions in the chat. Thank you. Who have we got? We've got Haley, we've got Panda, we've got Helen. I'm going to put Helen's question up. Helen, it's in Spanish. I'm going to read that out. La orientación fisiológica siempre es importante. Gracias por esta importante intervención. Terrible Spanish there. So basically, you said the orientation, psychological orientation, or I guess mindset, is always important. Thank you for your important intervention. I guess that means what I'm trying to do. Or anyway, Helen, sorry I butchered that, but that was the best Spanish I could do. I need to start taking my Spanish lessons again. All right, more questions. Okay, Linda. Hi, Linda. Linda says, hi, Gav, hope you're well. Just wanted to ask how ladies going through the menopause, lose the tired belly fat that appears during menopause. How can you balance the hormones with diet and exercise? Linda, good question. It's tricky. There's no doubt going through the menopause slows things down, obviously hormones. But what I want you to realize that the hormones are not responsible for you gaining body fat. Okay, they can mess with a few things. They can cause you to change your actions. They could make you hungry. It could make you a little bit bloated. But the only way that you're gaining body fat is by being in a calorie surplus. There's no doubt different hormonal periods of life, women generally, and definitely in the menopause, can definitely slow things down. But I've worked with ladies that are going through menopause, and as long as we get the calories right, and they're doing the right training. So you want to be doing some type of resistance training to build the most muscle and get into that calorie deficit. Have you any idea how many calories you're taking? So yeah, don't buy into the hormone debate too much. If you're this is a bit of the self-fulfilling prophecy and self-beliefs. If you believe that hormones are responsible, and this is not necessarily directed at you, Linda, if you believe that hormones are responsible for you gaining body fat and gaining weight, if you believe that 100%, you can see that, well, I say it doesn't matter what I eat because my hormones. That's the problem. If you believe that calories and exercise and being in a calorie deficit is responsible, you could still fight that and do the best you can and realize that hormones might be slowing things down to a certain extent, but they're not going to be the cause that stops you losing body fat. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, drop me a message, Linda. I know we've chatted before. All right. Any more? For any more? Been on 20 minutes. That was a good little section on self-limiting beliefs, self-fulfilling prophecy. Right, let's go back to some more myths. I mentioned Diet Coke earlier on. Ted on the LinkedIn poll earlier on today said about the difference between fruit being different to other sugars. And also on from that, we hear a lot of people saying that because fruit has sugar in it, it's going to make you fat. Now, here's the thing. Sugar isn't the cause of obesity. Carbohydrates are not the cause of obesity. And eating fruit or bread or any other type of carbohydrate is not the cause of obesity. The reason why we get fat or we gain body fat is by being in a calorie surplus. So different sources of food will have a slightly different impact on the body. The glycemic index you've heard of. So simple sugars like pure table sugar, glucose, syrup, honey, not Diet Coke, normal Coke, any, muffins, cakes, biscuits, high sugar, fairly high release of sugar. That's the glycemic index. Okay. Good fruits, the darker the fruits, berries, have a nice slow release of sugar. Okay, but there's still carbohydrates, still sugar. Sugar's not a problem though. So hopefully that cleared up. That's big myth. No one ever got fat from eating too much fruit. You'd have to eat a lot of fruit and that would be all fruit. And again, it's irrelevant. You could have 20 pieces of fruit a day. I mean, you'd be shitting all day long. But let's say you were in a calorie deficit when you had 20 bits of fruit, you still lose body fat. It's irrelevant. All right, here's a good one. As I have a taste of my Diet Coke beverage. Spot reduce. I hear a lot of people saying, I just want to lose the body fat from my abdominal area. Can I do loads of crunches? Will sit-ups help me? By working the abs, will I burn body fat from my stomach? The truth is no. The only thing you're going to get, if you work your abs hard, you're going to get conditioned abdominal muscles. You're going to work the muscles under the body fat. So anyone that you see with a six-pack, or say, for example, a guy was looking for a six-pack, or maybe a woman was looking for just a flat stomach, generally more men tend to want a six-pack than the average woman, but not always. Some women do. The reason you've got a flat stomach or a six-pack is because their diet is controlled. They're in a calorie deficit. They've lost body fat to reveal that six-pack or a flat stomach. We've all got a six-pack because that's how the abdominal muscles, rectus abdominis, are actually formed. That's what that six-pack is. The reduction of body fat in that area that allows you to see the muscle, that shows the definition. And the only way you can do that is by good training, usually weight training, not necessarily the calorie deficit. So it doesn't matter what you do. I generally hear it around the middle, but I get a lot of ladies say, I've got body fat on the back of my arms, bingo wings, we call them in the UK. Maybe you do elsewhere. I'm doing tricep extensions, try and burn body fat. All you're doing is working the muscle. You can't reduce a specific target area. You can't spot reduce. It's a big myth. What I would recommend if you're trying to lose body fat from your triceps, particularly, is lift heavy weights and particular focus on your legs, because still work your arms, but do the majority work on your legs because you're going to build more muscle, burn more calories, combine that with the calorie controlled diet. You're going to get smaller arms. Lose body fat, you're going to get a toned arm. I hate the word toned, but it's the woman's word. I don't mean that in a sexist way. Men just don't say, I want to be toned. It's what most ladies say. And what they mean by that is they want to have lean muscle and low body fat. That's what a toned muscle is. All right, so hopefully that's cleared up that spot reduction is a big, big myth. One from the poll today. Someone said eating fat makes you fat. And I think there's about 600 votes at the time of this live. It's about 25 past 5. The last time I looked at the poll, just before I came on live, there was about 600 votes, and 41% had said carbs after 7 p.m. and about 30% had said eating fat makes you fat. And this is not necessarily what they believe. Guy asked the question, what were the biggest myths in fitness and nutrition? And I used that as one of my poll answers, and 30-odd% had said eating fat makes you fat. Now, I know there's some people watching this live will still believe it. Now, the problem lies in the word fat. Dietary fat is very different to body fat that's stored. It's completely different. It's, I may as well call it carbohydrates, protein, and a pencil. If we called it something completely different, it wouldn't be so confusing. I just pulled out the word pencil, just came into my head. The problem is because it's called fat, dietary fat, it kind of makes, if you eat fat, you're going to get fat. Now, we know that you only gain body fat by being in a surplus. So if you eat a load of dietary fat in your diet and it takes you into a calorie surplus, then you'll gain body fat. But it was because you went into a calorie surplus, not because it was the body fat. Now, here's what we've got to be careful of. There's 9 calories in a gram of fat. So it's gram for gram, it's more than double the calories. So you don't need a lot of fat to get a lot of calories. I guess maybe that's where the confusion is. One, it's the same name. And two, you don't need a lot of it. It can very quickly take someone into a phase of overeating, maybe. But it wasn't the actual fat. We need dietary fat. We need a good amount of quality fats in our diet. Without it, we'll die. Simple as that. Simple as that. If you didn't have fat in your diet, which would be almost impossible to not have it, you would die. We need it for every cell in our body. It's absolutely imperative for our health. Good quality source of fats will help you lose body fat because it's got nothing to do with gaining body fat. Dietary fat is a nutrient that we need. It's one of the important macronutrients: fats, proteins, and carbs. We have to have it. Okay? So that's one of the big myths. All right. Some of the questions in the chat. Well, it's not a question, it's more a statement. Jared has said, my six-pack's been hidden for a while now, Gab, but focus on that calorie deficit now, so we'll be able to see them again soon. Exactly. Got nothing to do with you working your abs, though, as you know. Right. Some more of the myths. So if you're coming late to this LinkedIn Live, I put a poll up earlier on today, and I said, what are some of the most common myths in and around fitness, nutrition, health? A lot of people said carbs after 7 p.m. A few people said spot reduce, eating fruit, things like that. We mentioned different things around carbohydrates, but all the time I hear weight training will make women bulky. It's just one of the biggest myths. And a lot of the ladies I work with, not a lot of them, some of them come into the program and they think that by lifting weights, they're going to gain muscle. Now, here's the thing. The biggest difference between men and women when it comes to building muscle is the fact that on average, a man has got about 10 to maybe 12 times more testosterone than the average woman. Will produce 10 times more per day than the average woman. And we know that testosterone is the main hormone responsible for building muscle and burning body fat. Okay. And it's really hard for men to bulk up. When you've seen Andy at the office going to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, chugging back protein shakes, and it looks like he's put some muscle and he's bulked up, what's usually happened for most people is he's put a couple of kilos of muscle on, and he's overeating, so he's in a massive calorie surplus, so he gained body fat, and he gets this bulky look. A lot of people then think that weight training did that, coupled with a protein shake. Okay, so a lot of women see that. They see Andy in the office. He's been training the last 3 or 6 months, and he's bulked up. So they think it was the weight training that did that. Now, the weight training was one part. Okay, the weight training was the catalyst, but Andy from accounts needed 10 times the amount of testosterone and a surplus of calories, usually with a lot of protein, a lot of extra calories. So for the average lady going into the gym that's trying to lose a bit of weight and tone up their body and get nice and slim and slender, again, if that's your goal might be something completely different. But if that was your goal, for a lot of ladies that I work with, they're trying to lose body fat and get lean and look nice and healthy. They think the weight training is bulking them up, but it's the hormones that the man has and the diet. So if the lady controls her calories, she's in a calorie deficit. Remember, you can't build muscle in a calorie deficit, or technically you can. You could build muscle and burn body fat, but that's another. You're unlikely to build muscle if you're in a calorie deficit. For a woman, extremely tough to do that. Okay, so what's going to happen when a lady does weight training? She's going to get strong. She's not going to get big. Her muscles are going to get strong. That extra muscle, like we're talking a minuscule amount of muscle, pound, half a pound of muscle over a period of a couple of months, 2-3 months. That extra muscle is going to increase her metabolism. So metabolic rate when she's sleeping is at rest is going to be higher. It's going to burn more calories, going to help her get leaner. But you could put 5 kilos of muscle, which is about 10, 11 pounds, on a woman right now, slap it on, and it wouldn't be visible. It'd hardly be visible. So what women think is that when they start weight training, they're suddenly going to see this big bicep appear. I wish. I've been training 30 years trying to get biceps. It's really, really hard to build muscle for men and stay reasonably lean. You can build a little bit of muscle and bulk up, have a load of extra calories and get fat and look a bit chunky. That's what people think is going to happen. So women, ladies, do not fear getting in the gym, lifting heavy weights. Heavy weights for 99% of you is going to get you strong. It's going to shape your body. It's going to help you look and feel like you want to look and feel. It'll help you stay alive longer. It's going to strengthen your bones, avoid osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, all these things as we age. So important, heavy weight training for women. Okay, don't fear it. You're not going to get big. You're not going to get bulky. You're not going to go up a dress size. Any woman that you've seen has put a lot of muscle on, I can guarantee, pretty much guarantee, I would bet my left testicle that she's on drugs. Actually, I'd like to keep my testicles, but you get the analogy. All right, any more for any more? Ria says hi. Hi. Any more in the chat? Let's have a look. Let's look at some more myths. What else do we get? Eating fat makes you fat. Weight training for ladies. Spot reduce. Fruits. That's a lot. We've covered so many before. I don't want to repeat some of the ones that I've been over before. Any more for any more? Very quiet today. Very quiet. Here's something I want to mention. I've got a video coming out on this topic next week. Was the transgender athletes in the Olympics? Be interesting to know your opinion on this. I'm going to save this for my video, but there's the athlete, the Laurel Hubbard, the New Zealand weightlifter that's going to be the first transgender athlete to compete in the Olympics in the weightlifting. There's some controversy whether he was a man. Sorry, she was a man. I always get mixed up with the phrasing. She was a biological male, birth, transitioned age 35, become a female, and she was an accomplished weightlifter back then at junior level, and now she's transitioned. And the IOC have said that she can actually compete in the female category. Now, I don't actually believe that's fair, and that's not me being negative or hateful or transphobic to the transgender community. It's just the reality. I just wanted to know what your opinion would be on that. And I'm going to save this. I've got a detailed video of it coming out next week. I don't want to go into it too much now, but it just came into my head now. I wonder if you had any thoughts on that. If you're seeing this, put it in the chat and let me know your opinion on that. Look, it's very quiet. I'm not going to talk to myself because I've covered self-limiting beliefs, self-image, self-esteem, self-fulfilling prophecy. We've looked at some of the myths in fitness. So if there's no one else coming in, I'm going to round it up. Listen, I'm going to do these lives either every Wednesday or Thursday, 5 p.m, depending on scheduling. Check back, come to the Q&A with any questions. Oh, all right, Jared, excellent. Cool. No way transgenders should be allowed to compete against females. Absolutely unfair. Make their own category. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I say that in the video. They should have their own category. And again, I don't want to go into too much, but we talked a little bit about the testosterone that a man has, 10 times more. Now, I know for them to compete, the IOC have said they've got to have reduced testosterone, so they're taking testosterone suppression supplements to bring them back more in line to a female, but without going into too much detail, it still equates to them having about 5 times more than the average female. So it's just not fair. Plus, you look into the size of the limbs, the heart, the lung capacity, the hands, the feet, the pelvic structure that a man has gone through puberty into full maturation. Yeah, so it's not fair. Anyway, guys, very quiet. I'm going to leave you today. Hope you enjoyed those that came on. Every Wednesday or Thursday, 5 p.m. for the weekly health, fitness and fat loss Q&A. I will see you next time. See, I like to be taken for dinner and drinks first before you slip your hands in Swanika. Call me old-fashioned. I'm kind of a big deal. For sake.